I knew something was wrong the moment the cabin went quiet. Not the peaceful quiet of people settling in, but that sharp, uneasy silence that crawls up your spine and tells you a line has just been crossed. The engines hummed lower. Conversations died mid-sentence. And there I was standing in the aisle with my backpack in my hand while a man in the front row leaned back in my seat like it already belonged to him. He lifted his glass, smiled to himself, and didn't even bother looking at me. And in that moment I realized he thought this was over. Yeah, that was his first mistake. Let me back up a little. My name is Lena Carter. And I don't usually tell this story out loud, but if you've ever been underestimated, dismissed, or quietly pushed aside because someone thought they knew who you were just by looking at you, then you'll understand why this still sits with me. This happened on a rainy Thursday night at Franklin International Airport, the kind of storm that turns terminals into pressure cookers and short tempers into explosions. I had just wrapped up a brutal week of meetings, non-stop negotiations, 12-hour days, the kind of work that leaves your brain buzzing even when your body's begging for sleep. I wasn't dressed like a CEO. No blazer, no heels, no polished image. Just a worn hoodie, black jeans, sneakers that had seen better days, and a canvas backpack I'd been carrying since grad school. I travel like this on purpose. It keeps things simple. And honestly, it keeps people honest. Because the moment you walk into a space without signaling power, you find out very quickly how people really treat you. That night I had booked myself a rare indulgence. First class, seat 2A. Window. I wanted to sleep the entire flight. No emails, no calls, just darkness and silence at 30,000 feet. Simple plan, right? I scanned my boarding pass the gate. Agent barely glanced at my face, hesitated when his screen lit up, then waved me through without a word. That pause should have been my warning. When I stepped onto the plane, the lead flight attendant gave me a smile that looked friendly at first glance but didn't quite reach her eyes. She asked to see my boarding pass twice, told me the overhead bins were mostly reserved, then corrected herself when she saw the seat number. I didn't push back. I didn't need to. I just wanted my seat. Except someone was already sitting in it. He was maybe mid-40s, tailored suit, expensive watch, the kind of confidence that comes from never being challenged. He was reclined, comfortably scrolling on his phone drink, already in hand. I checked my boarding pass again just to be sure. Seat 2A. Definitely mine. I cleared my throat softly. "Excuse me," I said. He didn't look up, just raised one finger like I was interrupting something important. I stood there waiting, counting the seconds. Finally, he glanced up, his eyes flicking over me from head to toe, and his expression changed. Not confusion, not curiosity, disdain. "Yes," he said, flat impatient. "I think you're in my seat," I replied, keeping my voice calm. "I'm 2A. He laughed. A short, sharp sound. "No, you're not. Economy's that way." He gestured vaguely toward the back of the plane. Didn't even turn around. I told him again politely that I had paid for this seat and asked him to check his boarding pass. That's when his tone shifted. He sighed loudly, set his glass down, and said, "Listen, sweetheart, I fly this route all the time. I'm a premium member. I always sit here. Maybe you got upgraded by mistake. Happens." Sweetheart. Yeah, that word. The one people use when they want to sound friendly while putting you back in your place. My chest tightened, not with embarrassment, but with something colder, something familiar. I stood my ground, and that's when he snapped his fingers. The flight attendant rushed over. He spoke first. Told her I was confused, that I was holding up boarding, that I was harassing him. She turned to me, her face already set, and asked for my boarding pass. I handed it over. She looked at it. Really looked at it. Then she looked back at him. And in that moment, I watched her make a choice. She said there must have been an operational mix-up. Said he was already seated. Said the plane needed to depart. Said I could take another seat in the back. Row 31. Exit row, extra legroom like it was a favor. I stared at her. "You're asking me to give up the seat I paid for," I said, "because he's already sitting there." Her smile tightened. "I'm asking you to cooperate so we can leave on time." The man in my seat took a slow sip of his drink and smirked. "Go on," he said. "The view's the same." I looked around the cabin. People were watching, some uncomfortable, some pretending not to see. One woman held her phone low, recording. No one said a word. I could have named myself right then, could have ended it in seconds. But there's something powerful about letting people finish exposing who they are. So I nodded, picked up my backpack, and walked to the back of the plane. As I passed him, he muttered something under his breath, about handouts and people who don't know their place. I didn't react. I sat down in 31B between a teenager with headphones and an older woman knitting quietly. The woman smiled at me and said, "Long day." I smiled back and said, "You have no idea." Then I opened my phone. I didn't open social media. I didn't text anyone. I opened a secure internal app, one I hadn't touched in months. See, what no one on that plane knew was that I founded a company called Ether Systems. We build back-end authorization software for commercial aviation, routing verification, digital clearance, real-time compliance checks. If a plane flies under our system, it does so with active authorization. I revoked it. The app asked for confirmation. Level 4, interruption. Possible ground delay. Are you sure? I looked toward the front of the cabin, imagined him leaning back in my seat, and tapped confirm. 10 minutes later, the plane stopped moving. Engines powered down. Lights flickered. Confusion spread fast. The captain came on sounding puzzled, said there was a systems issue, something they'd never seen before. Up front, the man complained loudly, demanded another drink. The flight attendant poured it with shaking hands. Then the police lights appeared outside. Federal agents boarded. They asked for me by name. The same attendant who moved me pointed to the back like she was pointing at a problem she couldn't wait to get rid of. The agents walked down the aisle, stopped at my row, and spoke to me with respect. Asked why I'd revoked authorization. I stood up, told them calmly that I had been removed from the seat I paid for, that our company policy prohibited system use under fraudulent passenger handling, that if I wasn't authorized to sit in my assigned seat, my software wasn't authorized to fly the aircraft. Silence. They escorted me forward. Passengers started clapping, loudly. Not polite applause, real applause. The man in my seat stood up, furious, demanding answers. When they ran his ID during the lockdown, they found an active financial investigation. He'd been trying to leave the country before charges were filed. As they handcuffed him, he shouted, "Do you know who I am?" I looked him in the eye and said, "You're the guy who took my seat." They removed him from the plane. I restored authorization. We took off. I wish I could say that was the end of it. It wasn't. Because the real fight didn't happen in the air. It happened after we landed. People with power don't like being embarrassed, and they don't like women who refuse to shrink. By morning, there were meetings, accusations, headlines. I was painted as emotional, reckless, unstable. A familiar story, one they thought would stick. Except someone had filmed everything. Not just the argument, but the planning, the whispers, the confidence that I'd react, that it would give them leverage. It went viral. The truth moved faster than their narrative. Investors panicked. Investigations opened. The people who thought they could quietly erase me realized they'd underestimated something far more dangerous than anger. Transparency. I didn't win because I grounded a plane. I won because I refused to accept a lie about my place in the world. So let me ask you this. If someone decided you didn't belong based on nothing but how you looked, what would you do? Would you swallow it, or would you stand your ground? Was I right, or did I go too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear them. And if this story hit close to home, share it. Because someone out there needs to know they're not imagining it. They're not overreacting. And they're definitely not alone.